worked with, I would say, put the most emphasis on preparation. So his assistant talked to me a lot before filming. We did the fitting in Los Angeles. We had some conversations. I did my research. I watched every single Superman movie. I didn't have the full script, only those 2 pages I had initially, because initially I was supposed to be only in 2 scenes. Then they added third scene in a week prior to shooting in Atlanta. And then on the day of shooting, he actually added me to those press conferences scenes. So I ended up doing 6 scenes. And yeah, he was very direct. He knew exactly what he wanted. I was very surprised how organized he was, how fast paced and fun the process of filming was, because I've worked on some blockbusters that it took 2 weeks to finish a scene. Here we did 4.5 scenes in one day, and I was super surprised. I didn't expect that, but he knew exactly what he wanted. He gave a very direct and very specific notes. Like, for example, in my second scene, when we finished the conference and then he goes to meet Lex Luthor, I opened the door for him, and I'm like, say some cheesy stuff to him to be this like guy that is trying to please him, whatever. When I opened the door, he told me on the last take, "Don't look at him. Look straight into the ground. Put your head down." As a gesture of complete obedience. And so he had those type of notes. Like in the last scene with the Hoult girl, he told me to blend into the wall, cover my eyes, and pretend like I'm invisible, and don't help the president. Don't help the president when he's about to be murdered. So he was. Every note he gave made sense from the character standpoint, and it made more sense since I've watched the film. Those characters are very distinguished. Everybody's different.
Yeah, and you mentioned that about the casting, and it was very sort of select in terms of, because I read some massive big names within the industry tried out for the Superman role, for the Lois Lane role, in terms of that. Big actresses like Samara Weaving, other big male actors as well, talented actors. But it was so precise in terms of what James's vision, in terms of David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan and the chemistry between them, and so what I would say, so much relevant to history in terms of what Superman looked like in the past. In terms of with David Cornsey, he almost feels like a replica, or dare I say, a duplication of various Supermen, that in terms of appearance wise. And so James very much paid homage to the movies that went before him in terms of his casting. There was no getting away from the quintessential Clark Kent look. The casting was depicted on what had gone before him, to sort of almost like paying homage to the Superman genre.
100%. He's a comic guy. He's a comic fan. He wanted to make the most comic book film like in history of Superman films. He wanted to bring it back, I think, to what it initially was as a character in the comic books, where he's the previous director of Superman movies had more like an auteur, his own interpretation, more darker version of Superman. He wanted to bring back the joy, the positive message, him as a savior, but also as a human. That's the most human Superman we ever had. Superman that suffers, that has that is upset, that is disappointed, that feels and is hurt sometimes, and physically and emotionally. And talking about the casting, like, I would say there were a lot of big name actors auditioning for all kinds of roles, not just the lead roles. If you see at the cast, there are huge names in a small, tiny little scenes. Like you have Michael Rooker as a robot. You have Bradley Cooper in only one bit. You have John Cena in a small cameo. You have Michael Rosenbaum. Like you have. This Supergirl in one little bit. So yeah, no, everybody wants to be in a film like that. That's like the biggest honor you can imagine, to be in a film like that.
Yeah, and Martin, in terms of, I was intrigued about, we have there the evolution of a green screen now in terms of technology, in terms of how it's taken over the business. But some movies are very true to the stunts in terms of the stuntmen and stunt crew. And in the past, Superman movies, when we were going back 10 or 15 years ago, they were very sort of stunt based in terms of stunt activity. In this sort of movie, is there a mixture between stunts and sort of green screen in terms of effects, or in terms of your role, did you get to see an awful lot of stunts up close, even if you weren't partaking in them?
I didn't see any green screen in my scenes. I'm sure they did green screen on the final part of the scene where the president is flying and going down. I'm sure that was that had to be done that way in a way. But my scenes were all real. Well, the scenography was there. Even the painting of the president on the wall, the cheesy painting of him as a showing like how much of a oligarch and despot he is. It was there. There were so many little details that you can't even see in the film, like at his office where we start the scene with when I get the phone call and I say that we're ready for the war, and we enter Jahapurian for the second time. On that table, he had stamps with his name that you couldn't see because that was a small little detail, and plenty of stuff like that. He really paid attention to details. Same with stunt team. The scene with Hawk Girl, there was a lot of stunts. There were a bunch of stunt people involved. Like when Hawk Girl comes and she comes on the wires, she in like small sequence eliminates 5 soldiers. I think that was shot continuously, and those were all stunt people, real stunts, people flying like for real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Martin, I'm sort of looking in terms of the shooting and how long you were on set. I was looking. I know most of the movie was shot in Ohio. There was a good bit shot in Georgia. But there was one or two scenes shot in Norway as well. I presume you yourself were probably based in Ohio or Georgia for the sort of
Georgia.
shootings.
Georgia.
But Georgia,
Georgia.
yeah. But
Mhm.
did you know that the film went to Norway for a bit as well?
Yeah, of course. Because when I booked the role, I started following James, and he was, he's good in social media. He posts a lot. He doesn't shy away from that. So they were posting photos from Norway. That's where they started shooting. They started shooting the sequences in Fortress of Solitude. That was in Norway. So yeah, I've seen it. And then they went to Georgia, and then they went to Ohio and Cincinnati, and that's where they finished filming.
Yeah. And how long were you on set, Martin, in terms of your own from start to finish?
So
Rough.
the fittings and like I said, most was done in preparation. The fittings and conversations were for about 3 to 4 weeks. And then I think I was in Atlanta Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Monday I finished. Monday was my last day.
Yeah. And in terms of a Boravian sort of general, for people that are maybe unknown to the Superman universe and probably know Superman, Clark Kent, Lex Luthor, and maybe their knowledge is sort of limited after that. What is a Boravian general, and how does he fit into the Superman world, dare I say?
So the main villain is Lex Luthor, played by Nicholas Hoult, and he manipulates my president, which is Vasily Gurkos, played by the great Zlatko Buric, one of the greatest European actors of these times. And I'm his right hand. So the evil spreads. The domino effect of evil spreading is Lex Luthor to Vasily Gurkos. Vasily Gurkos controls me. I control the army, and we invade neighboring country, which is Jahanpur. First time we do that, that's the start of the film. It's been said in the Star Wars like explanation. First time I do that, first time I invade, we are stopped by Superman. So which creates a diplomatic conflict because we as Boravia are the closest ally of United States. So now Superman intervenes without approval from American government. He intervenes against the ally of United States, supporting the country that is not the ally of United States because he believes it's his moral objective to do so. because we are wrong by attacking the other country, and we have tanks and big army, and the other country, they don't have any weapons. Pretty much, it's just kids with the sticks. So yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of the film, but generally speaking, that's one of the main storylines of the Superman movie. Is this geopolitical situation, because Lex Luthor sells weapons to Boravia, and he does have another interest in Boravia taking over Jahanpur.
Yeah. So it's almost like a real world effect in terms of something that maybe outer space sort of driven. Yours more grounded in terms of reality, in terms of your role and its occupation, military base. It's not sort of dare I say space driven.
Well, I would say the way I think I got the part, and how I played it, and the way James kept everything I shot in the film, which I'm very grateful for, I think is because I didn't play him as a typical tough military guy. I played him as, tough to the public, but next to the president, I'm weak. I'm scared. I'm like doing everything to please him. He's a despot. He's the guy that can, you know. I'm a fan of history. I read history books. Like Joseph Stalin often murdered his generals. So that's what I felt about when I was playing that role. I thought about Stalin, and how he treated his army. Like I have to really be obedient. Yeah, some people read into current times and current conflicts. I don't think that was James' intention. Especially if you look at the timeline when he wrote the script, that was 4 years ago. So a lot of what's happening right now wasn't happening when he was writing the story. So you can read a lot into it, but the facts are just that. Like some things that people are writing and thinking. I don't think that was the intention. But listen, wars are not good. We know that. So if people want to come to the conclusion that wars are not good, great.
And Martin, as a cast, did you get to bond? Did you, in terms of, did you go to premiere as a cast? Did you become sort of tight knit? Did you? I know it was a much big vaunted cast, and some of them had minor roles, as you mentioned, sort of celebrity actors. But the main sort of cast, in terms of Rachel Brosnahan, David Corenswet, did you get time to, and Nicholas Hoult, did you get time to interact with them?
I had a time to interact and befriend with Isabella Merced, because we were filming on the same days. She plays Hawk Girl. She's an absolutely wonderful human being, huge heart, and even bigger talents. I hope she will be one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. She deserves it. She's a fantastic actress and fantastic human being. And Zlatko, of course, we spent a lot of time with Zlatko. With Rachel, I worked on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, so I knew Rachel before. We had scenes together in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So she was in a different location, but through the James assistant, my first day, I told them, please tell Rachel that priest Piotr is on set of Superman. She will know, because we worked on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So I got to know those people. Then I met some more, who played all the Boravian people I met. Last week I was in a lot of events. I was a special guest of a lot of events. There were some other cast members of Superman also in those events. So we posted some photos together. And yeah, it's one big family. I mean, the atmosphere on set was extremely friendly. I haven't seen a big movie, haven't worked on a big movie where everybody was so relaxed and so confident of what we're doing.
Okay. And Martin, I know it's busy times for you. You might enlighten all our audience, all our listeners for the final minute or two, where they might catch you coming up in 2025 on our TV screens, on our movie theaters in the near future.
So I did a pretty big video game. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk which one. I worked on Call of Duty in the past. I did a character that was very popular named Kruger on Call of Duty. I did another iconic video game a couple months ago. It will come out soon. What else? I did.
Can I ask, without knowing the video game, what sort of genre is it? Is it fighting,
Fantasy,
action,
fantasy.
fantasy? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
fantasy. I did voice character on Mayday, a new movie with Kenneth Branagh. I did two other independent films. I did lead role on a film that is now in festivals called Butterfly Effect. It's written by the son of the creator of The Simpsons. Um, and interesting fact, there's one lady that runs agency in Ireland that I talked to. She said she recommended me to some project in Ireland. So hopefully I'll come to Ireland. I'd love to come to Ireland.